WTAP looks back on this day in history in today's We the People, celebrating 250 years.
On December 13, 1918, President Woodrow Wilson arrived in France to take part in World War I peace negotiations and to promote his plan for a League of Nations, an international organization for resolving conflicts between nations. Wilson's treaty negotiations in Europe set the tone for post-war American foreign diplomacy, which emphasized intervention over isolation and introduced the idea of a multinational peace organization. The League of Nations failed, largely as a result of the fact that the U.S. decided not to join, but it was the precursor to the United Nations, which was established in the wake of the Second World War.
A moment to reflect, a time to remember. Join WTAP in celebrating We the People. Watch This Day in History every day on WTAP News at 6, proudly sponsored by WVU Medicine Camden Clark.